What's up, guys? Welcome back to Michigan Muckraker. My name's Michelle. Today is July 31st of 2023, and I've missed you. My July hiatus is over, and it's time to get back to some serious muckraking. I will be live every Monday and Tuesday at 10 a.m. from here on out. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you are new here, we talk about what's going on in Michigan. On Mondays, it's been all about the Megasite. There are 6 Megasites right now that are being forced upon Michiganders through public-private partnerships. So I'm going to get into the 6, just do a little refresher, the 6 Megasites that right now grassroots movements are rising up to fight because we didn't get a vote. So the major problem is it's taxpayer dollars, Michigan taxpayer dollars that are going to private entities, corporations like Ford and Gotion. And we didn't get a vote. We didn't get a say. These are being chosen by our government. So it's corporate welfare, and our government is picking winners and losers. And they're using the Michigan Economic Development Corporation to do this. So that is the strong arm that is being used against us. Good morning, Dragonfly. Thank you very much for joining me this morning. So I'm going to show you really quick. A public-private partnership is a collaboration between government and the private sector that can be used to finance, build, and operate projects. Now, what's going on here is private plans with public money, and that's fascism. So we have real grassroots movements that are forming to stop these projects from demolishing our farms and our wetlands. And so we have been gaslit by our own government. They have called us paid protesters. They've called us xenophobic because Gotion and Ford both have ties to the CCP with their battery technology. And all of this is to push electrification of the United States of America. And Michigan has been chosen for the World Economic Forum's Advanced Manufacturing Site, and they are the king of public-private partnership, as I'm about to show you right now. So we come over here. This was in 2013. Strategic Infrastructure Steps to Prepare and Accelerate Public-Private Partnerships, May 2013. I'm not going to get into the entire thing, but this is the World Economic Forum that's pushing this. The MEDC is a public-private partnership serving as the state's marketing arm to force what they want upon the public. Again, libraries, the funding for libraries, you vote on that. The township boards talk about that. The people have a say. Marijuana shops, the townships got to vote on that. But when it comes to these regional changing megasites, we don't get a say. And again, they are forcing it upon us, and they're saying we're just a small, vocal minority of people. That's not true. People are just finding out about it, and they're fighting against it. Michigan Economic Development Corporation is touting how public and private partnerships power the future of mobility. And this was in 2019, right before the Great Reset begun. But come down here in Michigan, effective public-private partnerships are taking the forefront in solving mobility challenges, increasing accessibility to transportation solutions. This is all planned. It's been planned for quite some time. And so here are the megasites. We have Gotion in Big Rapids, which is going to include lithium carbonate, iron phosphate, synthetic graphite, and that big long word that I'm not going to read out loud, NMP, all of which carry serious toxicities. So there are several problems. Not only are they demolishing our wetlands and our farms, we are bribing them to buy our land that we don't even want to sell them, but the government is forcing it. But then there's links for some of the, unfortunately, is a point of contention between Democrats and Republicans. But this whole movement, this grassroots movement, is not about Republicans versus Democrats. This is about Michiganders not having a say in what happens in their neighborhood. And this is happening in a lot of rural areas, but it's happening in Detroit too. So it's not just rural. But the chemicals and the water usage, the environmental concerns for this green energy is one of the major problems that the grassroots movement has. So there are several. And then, of course, there's tons of NDAs that have been signed. So secrecy that we don't know exactly what's going on. So it's a scramble. We're trying to figure it out. All of these are reasons why the grassroots movement is growing and growing rapidly. So if you are part of this movement, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all of that you have been doing to fight for your home. Keep going, but this is a marathon, not a sprint. Please don't burn yourselves out. And make sure you just continue to communicate. And optics is really important. So we need to make sure that we are peacefully protesting and we are using non-violent civil disobedience. That is how we are going to change hearts and minds. And then we have strength in numbers because the government won't listen unless we have the numbers. So going back, Gotion in Big Rapids, 715,000 gallons of water daily intake and 65,000 gallons discharge. I'm going to see. Dragonfly says, my husband works for a municipality in Michigan and they had him just shred all 2020 ballots. Yes, definitely the voting system, our elections are being targeted for sure. They don't want us to either believe that our vote matters, they want us to be apathetic, or perhaps it doesn't. I'm not sure which. It's dangerous to be apathetic, but it's also hard to feel like your vote counts when lobbyists are in the picture, right? When money rules. So I have no doubt whatsoever that there was crazy stuff that happened in 2020. Whitmer, I don't know. I don't know if she got in there because her friends are in the World Economic Forum over in Davos, or if it was because of the Roe v. Wade being overturned and pushed to the states. And that was a really big deal to a lot of people. So it's all up in the air. But yes, definitely a lot going on here in Michigan. We have been eyed by the globalists. They like all the water that we have, and they are coming for it. So going back, we have the Ford Blue Oval Marshall Megasite, which is up to 2,000 acres of literally the richest and most permeable farmland in the state, along the banks of the Kalamazoo River, a major watershed for Lake Michigan. Sorry, going back really quick to Gotion, it is on the Muskegon River, which is the largest river in Michigan. It's like 214 miles, and it's at the head of it. So if anything were to happen, everybody downriver would be affected. And that is a major concern, of course, for Michiganders. The other thing I wanted to point out is the Gotion site. Sorry, the Gotion site is filled with resources, natural resources. So if we sell this land to China, because Gotion is a Chinese company, if we sell it to them, then they will have all of those wonderful natural resources. And I'm going to get into more of that. I have a lead on potassium and lithium here in Michigan that could be eyed by these big businesses. And maybe even our government knows about it, and sure that they do, but they don't tell us anything, so we have to guess. So, $3.5 billion project cost, total government subsidies $2.032 billion. That's how much we, the taxpayer, have given to bribe Ford to build a megasite here. We don't want it, but that's what we get. Our government, again, gaslighting us, pushing this on us. They have no respect for us. So it's time for us to band together and show them that, hey, you need to respect us. But again, nonviolent resistance, just like Gandhi did. I think he got the Brits out of India using nonviolent resistance, civil disobedience. I think we can do the same. We can get the World Economic Forum out of Michigan if we band together, but we need strength in numbers. So we're going to continue to update people and let them know what's going on here in Michigan. Rumor has it Mundy is another Midwestern site being eyed for a $50 billion semiconductor megasite. This particular deal notwithstanding, the megasite is being sold as a shovel-ready development for a semiconductor chip manufacturing campus. 1,000-acre site sits in the middle of a heavily populated residential area. Average semiconductor daily water intake is 11 million gallons. Now, again, we don't know how much it's going to take. It could take more, it could take a little less, but this is the average. We have to go by averages because, again, non-disclosure agreements by public officials. My neighbor and I talk about this all the time. He's like, how is it that they can do that? They're signing a non-disclosure, but they're supposed to work for us. It drives me crazy. It drives him crazy too. Eagle Township. Oh, right here. $1.5 million so far from the MEDC to fund the site, by the way. Let's see if I can do this because it works, but not very well. Okay, sorry. I have new software and I'm trying to figure out how best to use it. So Eagle Township is the fourth, and this is also being eyed for a semiconductor manufacturing megasite. Again, this is because we are trying to compete with China and electrifying the world when we should not be doing that. We should innovate, have American innovation, and do something that's actually friendly for the earth. The fact that we're trying to switch over is to this green energy, which is not green at all, is going to decimate our energy reliance, our reliability. And I've been hearing rumors about rolling blackouts and such. It's all because they're pushing us to go all electric. We need to stop this. There's no reason. Now, semiconductor plants are for making chips for vehicles and such, and I understand that chips are very important for computers and the tech world. However, it is not worth poisoning our own water like China did in order to compete with them. We, again, shouldn't try. They're way ahead in the battery market, and the battery market is terrible for the environment. So why are we trying to compete there? We need to go and do some other innovation. Maybe clean up the energy we have now. Why not? Well, I'll tell you why not from their perspective. You can't remotely control a gas vehicle, but you can an electric one. That's the reason. It's about control. It's not about saving the planet. But again, we the people, we can band together and we can stop this, and we're going to. I don't doubt it. I have faith. 1,500-acre site for Eagle Township. 1,300 belong to an agricultural endowment made by the late beloved local agriculturist Dave Morris. Mr. Morris and his wife had endowed the acreage to MSU to be used for the agricultural programming. MSU has now decided with local Lansing Economic Area Partnership, LEAP, that the best way to honor the Morris' legacy is to turn the prime agricultural land into a massive water-hogging semiconductor manufacturing hub. I have a couple articles to share on this, some updates. Because yes, Michigan State University is being sued now for this. So people are doing as much as possible, and right now the process is we're using the judicial system. We're trying to get some lawyers together, and we're trying to fight this through the courts. Now, I really sincerely hope that not all of the courts are captured and not all the judges are captured, and that we will have luck in the courts. But if we don't, that does not mean it's over, because it's not over till it's over. The courts could have been captured, but we're going to have faith. So we're going to keep trying in that route. The project is slated to receive MEDC funding, by the way, Eagle Township. More taxpayer dollars going to things that we don't want. Shiawassee County. 1,350 acres are being eyed for an EV battery manufacturing company. Little is known about the project. Over $220 million in state funding for this project so far. Same materials as Gotion. So We have issues with the chemicals that are going to be used. And of course, the daily water intake is a huge problem, 1.43 million gallons per day, and the discharge 130,000 gallons. Now, again, you have to rely on treatment, water treatment. You have to rely on chemicals in order for this water to be treated, to not be full of chemicals, well, full of other chemicals. This is all undesirable for us Michiganders who want a recreational, beautiful, pure Michigan state. We love our water and our wetlands and our farmlands, and we don't want to lose them to these giant corporations and pay for it to boot. Van Buren Township, $1.6 billion EV battery assembly plant being built in Van Buren Township to be operated by the company R Next Energy. Hard to benchmark the water usage because there's virtually no information. Surprise, surprise. It's worth noting that these are just the new builds. The MEDC has 2 multi-billion-dollar semiconductor manufacturing plants expansions planned for this year. 25.6 million gallons of water being used by these facilities across the state per day, or 9.34 billion gallons per year. That's what we're talking about here. I want to thank Marjorie for creating the Economic Development Responsibility Alliance. It has been a hub for the grassroots movement to see what's going on and to take action. So at the end of this video, I have tons of information on how you can take action against these projects. But thank you, Marjorie, for all your hard work. The articles will all be linked down below if you want to check them out yourself, but this one is quite long, quite full of good information you need to know. Michigan EV and tech megasites will drain the Great Lakes. So, going to Gotion first. That's where it started for me. That's how this whole thing started. I found out about Gotion being on the river I grew up on, and I'm not for it. I know how bad these industries are. I have known for quite some time. And so when I heard about it, I decided to say something about it. Dragonfly says, my husband works for Water and Sewer Department in Independence Township, Michigan. Thank you for what you are doing. Thank you, Dragonfly, for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And as long as we spread the word, we have a chance. At least that's how I feel about it. Big Rapids residents intend to sue MEDC over Gotion EV Ren Zone. This was July 18th, so there is an update from this, but I want to just kick this off really quick. The law firm Eklund and Blando, representing a group of Big Rapids residents, delivered a clear warning shot to the Michigan Economic Development Corporation and West Michigan Economic Development Corporation, the right place, yesterday with a letter outlining the illegality of Gotion's 30-year EV Renaissance zoning. The 30-year tax break from the Renaissance Zone extension granted by the MEDC has been one of the major points of contention with the Gotion plant. In addition to the $175 million in direct taxpayer capital provided by the MEDC, a staggering 30-year Renaissance Zone was granted as well, effectively giving Gotion 30 years of tax-free operation. Do any of our entrepreneurs get that? Attorney Robbie Dube asserts in his letter that the MEDC's extension of the Renaissance Zone to 30 years is illegal and that the application of the EV Renaissance Zone is dubious itself. Dube outlined a clear and compelling case for the multiple ways in which the MEDC and the right place's granting of a 30-year Renaissance Zone for the Gotion project violates state law. At this point, the development plan is not viable, as the County Planning Commission has already rejected the mandatory rezoning needed for the Gotion plant. Further, Green Charter Township electors have brought a referendum to overturn the creation of the GCT Planning Commission. This makes the viability of any potential rezoning minimal at best. The law requires MEDC to take into account the level of demonstrated cooperation from surrounding communities. At this point, any previously existing cooperation from surrounding communities has evaporated. Big Rapids Township is actively exploring how to withdraw from the Renaissance Zone. GCT's board members are all facing recall from citizens who are now opposed to the Renaissance Zone. The more people have learned about the Gotion plant, the more opposition has grown. Which, again, that's why the NDAs are signed. They knew that. The project was pretty much finalized. It was at the end of its finalization process when it applied for the Renaissance Zone, and that's when it became public. It wasn't until October 5th that Whitmer announced it, but Project Elephant, Gotion in particular, has been going on, being planned for 2 years in secret. 2 years. Now, the rest of these plants are the same. I'm sure they all started around 2020, the year the Great Reset began. But we didn't know a damn thing about it until last minute. And so now they're saying, oh, it's just a small group of people. Well, the more people that understand all the dangers and all of the problems that come with these megasites, now they want to speak out. Duh. You guys, you Michigan lawmakers, stopped us from being able to have any input, which is half of the problem here. We want a vote. That is what we want. We want it on the ballot. And the fact that you guys keep trying to stop us from putting it on the ballot, Marshall to be exact, it's so shady. But it's telling. We need this to be exposed, right? We need to know the Michigan government doesn't give a damn about the people and what they want. It's central planning all the way because the globalists have taken over Whitmer and her cabinet. The letter closes by noting that appropriate legal action will be taken if the MEDC does not rescind and revoke the illegal Renaissance Zone in 14 days. This lawyer continues. Recipients of the letter included Quentin Messer of the MEDC, Randy Thelen of the Right Place, which is also on the Michigan Strategic Fund Board now, Chuck Thelen of Gotion, Big Rapids Mayor Fred Gunther, City Manager Mark Gifford, Big Rapids Township Supervisor Bill Stanek, and Green Charter Township Supervisor Jim Chapman. Now, I'm not going to read this. I will have it linked below if you want to check it out. But just know lawyers are involved, and we are trying our damnedest to stop the Gotion project from just being built. Again, put it on the ballot. You think that majority of people want Gotion? Then what's the problem? Why can't you put it on the ballot? State Board approves 1-year extension for the $2.4 billion Gotion battery project. Let's see. Yes, this is the next one. So, plans for a nearly $2.4 billion electric vehicle plant, yes, remain on track after a state board signed off on changes to the project's footprint and anticipated timeline. The Michigan Strategic Fund Board today, again, Randy Thelen from the Right Place, who spearheaded Gotion coming to Big Rapids, is now also on the MSF board. Like, conflict of interest. Marjorie went there and demanded his resignation. Of course, he ignored us, but kudos to you, Marjorie, for doing that as well. She's putting in a lot of work, and so I really appreciate it, Marjorie. Don't burn yourself out. Let's see. Incentives amendment request from Gotion Inc., an economic development organization, the Right Place, that removes Big Rapids Charter Township from the project scope and extends the project completion date by 1 year to December 2031. Now, I didn't even know that it wasn't in 2031. I thought that the end date was 2031 already, but if it was 2030, it makes more sense, right? That's when they want all their shit done, 2030. It's when the New World Order wants to take over. As well, the board's approval extends a request from Acosta County to reduce the boundary to account for the changes to the project site and allow for a flexible start date conditioned on certain project milestones, according to the MEDC. Gotion's most recent request aims to address the restructuring of the project since the MSF board initially approved incentives for the project as well as minor delays. While the project's job creation and investment targets remain the same, the amendment request also accounts for factors such as height restrictions associated with the Robin Hood Airport in Big Rapids and wetland implications that altered the original configuration of the project site. Does it say in here? Let's see. No, it doesn't say that one of the reasons is Big Rapids Township decided that they did not want to host or to house Gotion any longer. And they're trying to rescind their Renaissance zone. So that's part of the reason why they needed to ask. But is this legal? So that's the question. Was the MSF's amendment of Gotion Renaissance Zone legal? This came out July 27th over on EDRA's site. July 27th, local residents are raising questions about the MEDC and the MSF board's decision to amend Gotion's taxpayer funding, which included a 30-year tax-free Renaissance zone. Specifically, residents are concerned that the removal of Big Rapids Township's portion of the Gotion site from the Renaissance zone did not follow state law. Changing the boundaries of the Renaissance zone would require the consent of Big Rapids Township and Green Charter Township officials, according to the Michigan Renaissance Zone Act, which states, the board shall not alter the geographic boundaries of the Renaissance zone or the duration of the Renaissance zone status described in the application unless the qualified local governmental unit or units and the local governmental unit or units in which the Renaissance zone is to be located consent by resolution to the alteration. Yet no resolutions have been passed. Imagine that. They're just doing whatever they want, hoping we won't see it, hoping we won't say something, or even if we see it and say something, they don't care. I'm not sure. No resolutions have been passed either by Big Rapids or Green Charter Township boards to thus amend the Gotion grant. Furthermore, no evidence was presented during the meeting that the board provided written notice to the Michigan Senate and House of Representatives, as is required under the MSF Act, which states the MSF will provide written notice to the legislature of any requests to modify the fully executed written grant agreement prior to taking any action on such amendment requests. Notably, the testimonies given to Michigan Senate Appropriations in April regarding local community support for the Gotion project given by Green Charter Township Supervisor Jim Chapman and Mecosta County Chair Geraldine Strong were erroneous. Both officials testified that over 90% of local residents were in support of the project, but when asked by EDRA of Michigan for polling data, were able to provide none. Quite the contrary, 3 other townships in Mecosta have officially polled their constituents, with over 80% across the board being against Gotion. Green Charter Township residents have been polled by organizers at over 90% against the project. Big Rapids Township itself polled 52% against the project months before Gotion's lack of disclosure caused the eruption of protest. Today, local organizers conservatively estimate 65 to 75% of residents countywide are against the project. Between this data and the rising protests and grassroots activism against Gotion, the project certainly does not demonstrate support from the local community, as required by the law in MLC. So, do they care? That's the question. Obviously, I don't think so, but we can make them care by strength in numbers. Now, one more Gotion thing, and then I'm going to move on to Marshall. But Gotion, this was the last Green Charter Township meeting, July 12th. Residents speak up in favor of the project. As you can see, tons of people that are pro-Gotion. They came to the meeting, and I was not there, unfortunately, but this person sums it up pretty nicely, I think. A small group of outsiders favoring the Pink Elephant Project attended the Green Township board meeting last night and praised the leadership of board members who stood up against their crazed, ignorant, backwoods constituents. That'd be me. They touted the benefits of money and job creation and derided legitimate concerns of many Green Charter Township residents. I challenge anyone to produce 50 young adults whose greatest ambition is to work in a battery factory so they can live close to mom and dad. Never mind the constant stream of trucks that will be speeding down 19-mile roads, spewing black smoke from their exhaust pipes onto crops and pristine households and creating noise along the way. Forget about the wildlife habitat that will be destroyed. 550 acres for Gotion. 550 acres of wetlands. Forget about the wetlands, the watershed, the water table, and the potential hazardous chemicals. Our government will protect us. possibly the most naive statement I have heard in my 76 years walking this planet. Don't worry concerning the fear-mongering about the CCP, despite daily warnings to the contrary from the government that will protect us. When they were finished speaking, those pro-Gotion people, they, along with the pioneer reporter, left the meeting without the courtesy of listening to the legitimate, well-researched, heartfelt concerns of area patriots who pointed out many of the potential problems created by this project. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself. That is what's going on here in Michigan as far as the Gotion goes. Dragonfly says, I heard someone say that Whitmore is related to Soros. I'm not sure about that, but funding, that is one of the muckraking stories that I'm going to be doing very soon. I have so many. The Muskegon River Watershed Assembly is coming very soon. But Soros probably did fund Whitmer with her campaign last year. I think I saw something, but I'm going to get the receipts on it and make a video. So, judge blocks Ford state from entering Marshall suit threatening battery plant plans. So this was July 12th also. A judge in Calhoun County will rule in the coming days on a citizen-led challenge to the validity of a Marshall rezoning ordinance in a decision that could significantly affect the timing and future of Ford Motor Company's planned battery plant. The impact the case could have on Ford's $3.5 billion battery plant development was enough to push the automotive giant, yes, they are going to be automated too, but automotive giant, the state of Michigan and a regional economic development agency to seek entry into the case late last week. So you have Michiganders, small grassroots movement of people that live next to this megasite that are being forced either out or to live with this megasite. They are trying to say that their rezoning was illegal and they're going to court. And now you have huge Ford who we're paying, who we've already given money to, that's trying to come in and stop the case or manipulate the case, get involved with the case at all. And the government, the state government. I mean, you can't make this shit up. Truth is stranger than fiction. Visiting Judge William Marietti on Wednesday blocked the state and Ford from inserting themselves into the case while allowing the Marshall Area Economic Development Agency to become a party. Medea, alongside the city of Marshall, will fight the suit brought by citizens seeking to undo zoning changes critical to the Ford development. Now, Medea is 100% captured. I'm not going to get into that today, but they are supposed to be, again, just like the right place, supposed to be helping the township, the people living in those counties. Instead, they work for the government, the centralized government, central planning all the way. Moretti said he expects to issue a written opinion in the next 5 days on whether the city of Marshall's inclusion of an appropriation in a May rezoning ordinance violated the city charter. He'll also rule on the clerk's rejection of signatures for the referendum based on the fact that some of those who circulated the petitions weren't members of the referendum committee. The city has argued the inclusion of the money in the rezoning ordinance to accommodate Ford's development made the ordinance impervious to referendum. A move clipped right from the playbooks of Governors Rick Snyder and Gretchen Whitmer that allows them to sidestep citizen-led efforts to repeal controversial laws. Wow, Detroit News said it. Robbie Dube, a lawyer for Committee for Marshall, not the Megasite, the group seeking to repeal the zoning ordinance, argued that the city's attempt to block efforts to put the question on the ballot amounted to a violation of the citizens' constitutional right to referendum. The prospect of delays to a multi-billion-dollar development isn't a sufficient excuse to sidestep those voting rights. That was Dube. Well said, Dube. The idea that there's millions of dollars at stake, so therefore we should just ignore the clear law laid out and people's clear constitutional rights is just anathema to the United States and the American form of governance, Dube said. Dube asked for temporary restraining order or a temporary pause on the zoning ordinance effects while the court decides whether to require certification of the referendum. The city and media urged the judge to reject those seeking a referendum, arguing that the rezoning decision was exempt from a citizen-led repeal and that the delays caused by the referendum could cost millions. Again, profit over people. The people want to pause the project that are actually going to live around the project. So just pause. Who gives a shit about your millions of dollars? We gave you millions of dollars, so you can afford it. That's exactly what this temporary restraining order is designed to do. It's designed to halt the project, said Josephine Corlin. Sorry if I butchered your last name. An attorney for the city. There is a significant timetable here that will be impacted by suspension of the ordinance itself, significant dollars that will be impacted. The Marshall plant will allegedly bring 2,500 jobs to the area, add about 35 gigawatt hours of annual battery capacity to Ford's operation, and help the Dearborn automaker diversify the capabilities of its EV lineup by adding a second battery chemistry, lithium ion phosphate, to its existing use of nickel cobalt manganese, or NCM batteries. The factory will license battery cell technology from China-based contemporary Amperex Technology Company, Ltd. The legal battle that played out in court Wednesday centers around a May decision by the Marshall City Council to rezone about 741 acres of property transferred to it by the township as industrial in order to assemble land for Ford's battery park. The city, which approved the zoning ordinance change after a joint planning commission rejected it, adding in an appropriation of $40,000 for site plan review services and $250,000 for building inspection services. Marshall argued the appropriations made the zoning ordinance exempt from citizen-led efforts to undo the change. Despite Marshall's insistence, the Committee for Marshall, not the Megasite, collected 810 signatures from residents for a referendum petition to put the zoning change up for a local vote. The committee collected more than 10% of the voting electors needed for petition referendums as noted in the city charter. City Clerk Michelle Eubanks on June 15th determined the opponent's filing was not valid because the ordinance in question would not be subject to referendum since the referendum power is not available where the ordinance includes an appropriation of money or a levy on taxes. She also found the referendum petition legally insufficient because many of the petition sheets were circulated by individuals other than committee members in violation of the city charter. Opponents appealed, but City Council upheld the clerk's determination, leading the committee to file a lawsuit on June 27th, asking for the court to immediately issue a certificate of sufficiency on its petition. So, a lot going on in Marshall. In court Wednesday, Dube argued that the city's prohibition on non-committee members collecting signatures and its efforts to block a referendum by placing an appropriation in the ordinance amounted to unconstitutional restraints of residents' rights. Right. So basically, it's a technicality. They're saying the people that got the signatures weren't certified. They weren't the correct people. So it doesn't matter that you have 810 signatures because the people that got those signatures, they don't matter. They're not the correct people. Now, from what I understand, Marshall followed all the rules, made sure they clarified several times to ensure that these individuals could go get those signatures, and they were led to believe that those people could get the signatures. That's why they did it. So, the state is just jerking us around. That's what's going on. Dube also argued the clerk overstepped her bounds by weighing in on the merits of the referendum rather than sticking to ministerial, I butchered that, duties regarding assessment of its form and validity of its signatures. This city charter violating appropriation was inserted into the ordinance with the express intention of nullifying the city's selectors' right to the referendum of ordinance, Dube said in a court filing. The city took this step because it was aware that its proposed ordinance was unpopular and unsupported by the electors. After the hearing, Doob questioned Medea's timeline agreement, saying it appeared to depend on the votes of independently elected government bodies and on the idea that such a rezoning decision wouldn't face referendum. That was a very financially risky decision to make, Doob said. That was your decision to make and your assumption that the people were not going to refer rezoning when that's their right to do so. Right. So if they lose millions of dollars because of this pause, it's their own damn fault because they were trying to get around what we, the people, might want. So by not getting our input, they screwed themselves over out of millions. Again, our millions that we gave them. Even so, if Medea really thinks that all of this rezoning is going to be catastrophic, it can do what it should have done from the beginning, which is make the political argument against the referendum. To try to go into court and make the political argument is deeply improper. Marshall rebounds. This is July 21st. The committee is looking forward to the next step of the process, which is a hearing on the committee petition for writ of mandamus on August 9th of 2023. The committee is hopeful that a fresh review of the facts and the law will change the court's perspective. Separately, it saddens us that the state of Michigan and a small private corporation are trying to dictate to the residents of Marshall what will happen to their town. James Durian, CEO of Medea, is wrong to say the rezoning is overwhelmingly supported by Marshall residents, as we have statistical data that says a majority of the city of Marshall residents want a referendum on the rezoning because they do not agree with it. The fight is not over. The preliminary injunction hearing was only the first step, and we knew it would not be easy. We need your help to continue to fight to ensure profit does not come before the Constitution and that the people's voices are heard. Donate to help finish this fight. So again, links will be in the description if you want to donate. And I have some events that are going on that you can get involved if you have time to get involved. Dragonfly says, thank you and everyone involved for fighting for our land. Thank you, Dragonfly, really. And you're right. Thank you to everybody out there that is fighting. I mean, it's all across Michigan that these movements are popping up because, again, nobody wants, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, a Republican, an independent, libertarian, Green Party, none of that matters. What matters is our rights, constitutional rights. We all want to keep them, I hope. And if you want your voice heard in the future, then you should fight for our voices to be heard now. This, I wanted to share. A reasonable person and the authors of the Constitution provisions would conclude that spending nearly $300 million to buy and develop land to give to a for-profit corporation is clearly an appropriation for a private purpose. Ford was also awarded a Renaissance zone for the green space, which MEDC advertises as creating a virtually tax-free area, and was designed to rebuild blighted areas. As a result, the company will pay little property taxes on the site for 15 years on the free land the state will provide. In total, at the Marshall site, the state is providing total subsidies of around $650,000 per job for 2,500 jobs, alleged jobs, other than the small number. Okay, so the big thing here is, once again, this is public-private partnerships and it's fascism. It is our money being used for private purposes. Never should happen. And yet, here we are. Moving on over to Eagle Township, there is a lawsuit that accuses Michigan State University of withholding information regarding Eagle Township Megasite. The university is accused of excessively redacting documents linked to a plot of farmland it owns in Eagle Township. For months, people who live near the land have voiced their concerns regarding a proposed microchip plant. The Mackinac Center for Public Policy filed a lawsuit against MSU Monday, which owns the land. It claims that when it asked MSU for documents on the site, they received them with excessive redactions. Obviously, these megasites are very important to the people of Michigan, said Steve Daly with Mackinac Center. Regardless of your opinion on them, everybody should be able to access the underlying information for these taxpayer-funded projects. Amen. I really like going to the Mackinac Center and seeing what they have over there, as well as the Michigan Capitol Confidential, because they both seem to be trying to hold our increasingly central government accountable. Trying. The Eagle Township site is projected to be 1,400 acres, with 1,000 of those acres, including farmland from Michigan State University, donated to the school by a private donor with the agreement that the land must remain farmland for 25 years, ending in 2031. Along with MSU, 11 other private properties are under a 3-year option agreement with the Megasite. We heard some issues may surround it from a legal perspective, so we filed a Freedom of Information Act request. And when we got documents back, the key document, which is a trust amendment, was heavily redacted. We thought that was inappropriate. It's like, how do they get away with this? How can they do this? I mean, you have to pay too. FOIA, they're not free. It was $16,000 to get all of the information on just Gotion. $16,000. I don't know how much they paid, but just to get redacted information back. It's so corrupt. It's unbelievable. The Mackinac Center filed a FOIA request back in February for information about whether MSU is legally able to sell the donated farmland. It's very common to see excessive redactions in FOIA, but when you get a page that looks like this, it's very difficult to know what's being withheld and what isn't, Daly said. So we're trying to get access to information that the university has claimed as private, but that we don't think qualifies under that exemption. In the lawsuit, the Mackinac Center said this information is likely to shed light on an area of important public debate. MSU is a government entity. Its records are the people of Michigan's records, Daly said. And so, unless a very specific exemption applies, the public should be able to access as much of that information as possible. We shouldn't even have to do the FOIA requests. This information should just be out there. You know, our data is just out there for them to steal and sell and everything else. The Mackinac Center said if they win the suit, they will be releasing all documents publicly. Yeah. Let's see, does this show the redactions? There's one. Oh, there we go. Trust and amendments proof. Let's see. Wow. Yeah, just huge blank areas, of course. Wow, look at that. Hey, look at all this information you don't get to see. But the good news is people are waking up. Michiganders are waking up. And they're not happy. Strength in numbers. All right. This is the Mackinac Center sues MSU over Eagle Township land deal from Michigan Capitol Confidential. Check and see the comments. I need to figure out. Usually I have a second screen. My laptop will connect, but it hasn't been working right. So I've been having a lot of tech issues. So I will, in the future, be able to see the comments a lot easier than what I have been now and be able to respond more. Dragonfly says, it's kind of weird the ballots that were just shredded. Someone FOIA 2020 ballots and then they shredded them. Yeah. Yes, a lot of crazy stuff going on with our government. But again, the more people are aware that the stuff is going on, the greater chance we have to stop it from happening in the future. The Mackinac Center requested public documents concerning the university's contentious land deal with the government-funded Megasite in Eagle Township. The university did not, according to the Mackinac Center, properly fulfill the request to provide a copy of the land agreement and amendments between a now deceased farmer and the university. The small amount of information the university did provide was heavily redacted. So there you go. They want to know exactly what that contract was. Because if you were going to break that contract, Michigan State University, then the land should go back to the family, right? It was donated for this purpose. If you break that contract, you don't get the land. Is that not how it works? Are they just going to steal it? David Morris, an Eagle Township farmer who died in 2009, agreed to donate more than 1,200 acres of his land to MSU. The agreement was made in the early 2000s. The FOIA request seeks details on the terms of that agreement. Corey Feldposh, a neighbor of the property who is working to prevent construction of the megasite, said neighbors are frustrated at the lack of transparency in disclosing the agreement that will impact property owners close to the proposed site. We do not have all the facts. We know there was an agreement that the property would be used for agricultural purposes for 25 years after the agreement was made, said Feldposh. We do not know if this contract allowed MSU to sell the property to another entity that could then use it for something other than agriculture, or if the contract stipulates even if sold, it has to be used by that entity for the same purpose. At this point, why are they not just disclosing all the details for transparency and clarity? Mackinac Center attempted to contact MSU's FOIA office regarding its failure to fulfill the request, but the university did not respond. Surprise, surprise. By the way, Michigan State University and U of M have both been captured by the globalists, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations. If you look at their websites, you can see the UN Sustainable Development Goals all over the place. And the World Economic Forum and the United Nations are working together to push those goals. And in the end, it's about private property. They want to take away private property. You will own nothing and be happy. At least that's what they want to brainwash you to do, to be happy with having no private property. The university claims the information is private and related to security issues. The Mackinac Center contends it is highly unlikely all of the redacted information falls within these exemptions. It also notes MSU may not have separated exempt information from non-exempt information. This case represents yet another example of Michigan's lack of transparency, said Steve Deli, Director of Transparency and Open Government at the Mackinac Center for Public Policy. The Eagle Township Megasite has been the source of major media attention, but details on the project are sorely lacking. Michigan citizens deserve to know the details of how the underlying land came to be in MSU's possession, and MSU needs to be held accountable for relying on improper redactions to withhold key information. So, well said, well written. Thank you, Mackinac Center and Michigan Capital Confidential, for trying to hold our government accountable. Mundy Township, billion-dollar manufacturing plant could be coming to you. Community response is mixed. So, the Flint and Genesee Group received $1.5 million from the Michigan Strategic Fund earlier this year to improve the property. This is definitely a group to keep your eye out on. They do big things. They are actively helping the central government push whatever it is they decide they want. So whenever they're involved, look out. We're working on the site to attract high-tech development in Genesee County that will create thousands of jobs at all skill levels. This is connected to our history. Genesee County has a proud tradition of making things. We put the world on wheels, and no one does it better than us. Again, I have to reiterate, I am not against innovation. I'm not against industry, but Michiganders, anybody, the people of the United States, whatever state it may be coming to, the people should have a say, and our government should not be conducting corporate welfare, bribing companies and picking winners and losers by doing so. All of that is not how America should work. That's not going by the Constitution of the United States. That's what we need to get back to. Mundy Township Manager Chad Young described the location as a rarity. You have effectively got 2 square miles that is uninterrupted by road running through the middle of it. Then there's a utility infrastructure in the area in terms of water, sewer, drainage, electricity, and natural gas that can be easily extended or scaled if it already isn't sized to accommodate manufacturing or industrial uses. See, another big thing is farmland. They are going after our farmland because they want to control food. And so I say we should be having more farmland. We should be producing more food than ever, especially since over in Europe, these think tanks, because that's what the World Economic Forum is, this globalist think tank, is they've never farmed in their life. And they are telling farmers, well, that they can't even farm, but they're telling them how things need to be done, all to save the planet, mind you. But this is how millions of people starve, is when people that have no idea about farming are telling the people that have been farming for hundreds of years what they can and cannot do. So we should be combating that by upping our farmland and upping our food production to alleviate the supply chain issues that will come from all of those farms being shut down over in the Netherlands. Not only that, 200,000 cows in Ireland are looking to be called or have been called to, again, save the planet. You are taking life away. You're not even eating them. Where is PETA? You are taking the life of these cows all to stop cow farts. That's what they want you to believe. Please don't believe that. This is about starving us, okay? It's about controlling the food, making us eat bugs. It sounds crazy, but this is 2023, so maybe it doesn't sound crazy. I'm sorry I got on that little tangent, but farmland, they're going after it, and so we should not allow that. We should keep our cows, start growing food. Why don't we use all of this acreage for food? What I said at the very beginning of this was like Project Eden. I'm going to show you really quick. Oh, I hope this is it. Nope, that is not it. Project Eden. There it is. Okay. So you see this? This is a huge greenhouse. Why couldn't we do something more like this? I'm not saying this exact project, but I'm saying something like this, where we keep it more natural, okay? And we do something worthwhile, because everything besides food, water, and shelter is a luxury. So why not protect our water, keep it clean, and grow some damn food? Let's do that. Now I gotta find where I was. Sorry about that. There we are. Group of residents have organized, this is back to Mundy, multiple pickets to keep our water clean. Opponents created a Facebook group called Schwartz Creek Mundy Township Megasite to push back against the megasite. Some of the members are comparing the Mundy Township Megasite to the 3.5 excuse me, the $3.5 billion Ford battery plant coming to Marshall. Bob Brubaker and Brian Bender are two of the Facebook group's administrators and have multiple discussions with township officials about their concerns. Dang. There's two main factors of concern, and one is the number of people and households in that general vicinity, Bender said. I think there are 9 neighborhoods, 4 mobile home parks, an elementary school, and 2 daycares. He added, and one of the biggest concerns I have personally, and I've shared with a lot of people, is the environmental impact in terms of building the plant and manufacturing the chips. It's a tremendous water usage process. We've talked to township to the township and Tyler about it. This isn't a local issue. It will affect the Great Lakes. So once again, all of these projects will affect the Great Lakes. If any East Palestine type of event happens, an accident, if that happens, our water will be poisoned by chemicals. That is the biggest threat that all Michiganders should be able to come together and fight against. Excuse me. Brubaker noted that the group of opposers want to make sure that what they say is factual, that they are not controversial, and that they have healthy discussions with township officials. Just like with any group, they are going to be the ones that are out there shouting everything. But we said from day one, as a group, that everything we stated has to be factual, and anything that isn't factual, we try to stay away from. The truth doesn't cost you anything, but a lie could cost you everything. That statement says a lot. Yes. As long as you abide by the truth, you trust your gut, you do the right thing, and always, again, live within the truth. Live not by lies. That is the solution to all our problems. Lying is the problem at the root of the root. Don Ludwig, a township resident, created the Facebook group and initially noticed surveyors in his backyard surveying for the Megasite. Don had no clue, Brubaker said, and he wondered if anyone else knew. I think the biggest message we can convey is trying to get the word out to the masses. It's up to the masses to decide whether they think it's right or wrong. Again, all we want is a say. Why didn't our government give us a say? Because they knew we would say no. They knew we wouldn't want it here. And they don't give a shit what we want. They want to electrify the world so they can remotely control it. Smart meters, smart cars. It's all surveillance. It's all about surveillance. However, the owner of Vintage Beauty on Linden Road was open to a manufacturing plant coming to town, as business owners are likely to welcome more people to the area. Well, that's the thing. You assume more people are going to come to the area because you assume that there's going to be 2,500 jobs or whatever. It's all usually just over 2,000 jobs for each of these megasites. But this is all going to be done by 2031, and automation and AI, I mean, it's getting faster every day. You're telling me there's going to be 2,500 jobs in 2030? No. It's going to be automated. Not only that, but work is going remote. Young people don't have to live right next to where they work anymore. They go online and work online, and that means they can live anywhere they want. And where do young people want to live? They want to live where there's no poisonous chemical plants. They want to live where it's green and beautiful. Or maybe they like the desert, if that's what you like, if you like Arizona, what have you. They want it to be clean. They don't want a huge, Mackinac Island size battery plant next to their house to raise their kids next to that. No. We have more options with remote work and with automation. Jobs are changing. It is not necessary to live next to where you work anymore, especially for young generations who know how to use the internet. It's a language. And Zoomers, they have been taught the language. They were born with a tablet in their hand, I always say. So they know the language from the beginning. They've known it. I learned it when I was like 8 or 9. So that's why my nephew is 10 times better at this computer stuff than even I am. And I'm 10 times better than my Gen X husband. So that's what happens with language, right? The younger you learn it, the easier it is for you. I don't know why I got off on that tangent. I apologize. Let's see. We have that criminal action did this, says arrest them now. That, somebody has to be held accountable. That is one of the main problems. No one's held accountable for any of their actions as far as political figures or giant corporations and their CEOs, banks, whatever. They're just not held accountable. Pure American, pure Michigan, pure blood, that criminal action says. And Dragonfly, exactly. My husband is a supervisor for weather and sewer, and they have smart everything. Now they track speed in their trucks. Yes, it is a dangerous game we're playing. I mean, I bring up Texas because that winter storm that happened in Texas, and anybody that had smart meters could not turn their heat up past 68. That is the danger of having a smart meter. It can be controlled remotely by your gas or electric company. So here in Michigan, Consumers Energy is my electric company, probably the most corrupt electric company in the United States. So having them in charge of my meter, and they even sent me something saying, hey, we'll give you $58 if you let us put a smart meter on your hot water tank. I don't think so. You're not touching my hot water tank. When I was growing up, I had a 15-gallon hot water tank. So 10-minute showers, you're not touching my 50-gallon, okay? I leveled up a little bit in the world. I'm glad I can actually, that's one of the things that I'm so thankful for. There's many, many things. Because I've been to other countries. I've had to take cold showers, not have clean water. These things, every time I take a hot shower, I thank God, I thank America, I'm so thankful that I have hot water, clean water. And so I don't want to lose that. Dragonfly, my husband was told he was speeding over 100 times and he wasn't even working that week. Yes. And that's a big problem too with the Teslas. There's like 6 cameras in there. Everything you do is being tracked and monitored and sent to Tesla. The data is being sold to whoever, Elon Musk. That criminal action did this. DeVos has Grand Rapids enslaved, and I worked at Van Andel. Yes, DeVos, that's another one. I hear that the kids got the money now, and they're central planners. I need to look into the DeVosses. They obviously have a lot of power because they have so much money, and that's why we need money out of politics, period. So, going back to these updates, Schwartz Creek, Mundy Township Megasite. There is a special zoning board of appeals meeting Wednesday. Oh, I'm sorry. That one already passed. Okay. Whoops. So I'll leave a link if you want to check out the Schwartz Creek Mundy Township Megasite. And again, at the end of this video, I'll have some different meetings that are going on that you can partake in if you have the time and inclination. School officials in holding pattern on future of Moorish amid talks of Megasite. So this is Mundy Township again. The Schwartz Creek Community School officials say it's too soon to say what will happen with the Moorish Elementary if an advanced manufacturing corporation were to build a megasite in Mundy Township. We have the information about the megasite and that our school sits on that property. But that's about all school and township officials know at this point. But here's the thing too, is like they'll just destroy that, but anybody that has private property on there, they'll give them an offer, probably like an egregious amount above what the property is actually worth, and they're paying taxpayer dollars to buy it. It's all, again, we're paying for our own enslavement with all of this. And that's why we need to stop doing that. The Michigan Economic Development Corporation has identified about 980 acres of farmland in the area of Elms, Hill, Maple, and Linden Roads as a potential build-ready site for attracting a large manufacturer. It is one of 4 sites where state officials believe they can assemble about 1,000 acres for development. I know people are desperate for information, and I understand that. I don't blame them, said Township Manager Chad Young. There's been some chatter lately about the school in particular. Young said township officials share the public's concern about the school and will work toward a common-sense approach. Did they sign an NDA? Has this township been informed about this project for quite some time, but they haven't told the people that they're supposed to be working for. Once again, how does a public official sign an NDA? They work for us. So that non-disclosure agreement, that's me signing that. He's supposed to represent me, or she. They are supposed to represent me. So how can they sign an NDA? We will wait to know, Heatherton said. School officials will consider the best interests of the student, staff, and community if and when a project is proposed. But right now, I don't have enough information. There's been no offer made, said School Board Treasurer Jessica Lanavi. There are a variety of factors that would come into play to making a decision. There is a lot of hearsay and speculation in the community at this time, but there are still so many unknowns. There's been no offer for a sale of or purchase of Moorish. Right now, I would encourage you to continue to ask questions and get information, yet not spread rumors. District resident Leah Davis was one of 3 people who addressed the issue before the school board last week. She expressed concern about traffic safety and pollutants, as well as the process for exploring the feasibility of the developments. Taxpayer dollars have been allocated by quasi-governmental groups known as the MEDC and Flint and Genesee Economic Alliance Group to be used in prepping and surveying these locations, Davis said, adding that the public has limited access to the decision-making of these organizations. Resident Gerald Roberts is opposed to properties and factories that are going to be owned by the Chinese Communist government. I'm a veteran, I'm a conservative, and I'm a born-again Christian, Roberts said. Within the last 2 weeks, Attorney General Dana Nessel and our prosecutor, David Layton, got on the television and said there's going to be state funds coming into our jail to train inmates, and they would be guaranteed after that training to work in factories. Where do you think that factory will be going? Or where do you think that factory is going to be? Roberts was referencing a June 20 launch of the Genesee County Job Court program that sends people charged with minor nonviolent offenses to work rather than jail. My wife is very concerned with regard to felons, the Chinese Communist Party coming in. He added that he's also concerned about how much a megasite would utilize the water system and potentially contaminate wells in the area. All valid concerns. And again, Gotion, the no-Gotion people, have been called xenophobic. It has nothing to do with the people, the Chinese people. It has everything to do with the Chinese government that has already enslaved their people using social credit score, the Internet of Things, 5G, Industry 4.0. That's what all that is, Industry 4.0, which is what I will be talking about tomorrow at 10 a.m. if you want to come hang out with me. It's all about Industry 4.0. Michigan offered one company more subsidies than the budget of a dozen state departments. Micron chose New York over Michigan, turning down $28 billion. Our government offered $28 billion? The state of Michigan spent 15 months trying to lure a manufacturer of computer memory to the Lansing area, ultimately offering Micron Technology $3.2 billion in direct state support and nearly $28 billion in state and local incentives over the life of the deal. The $3.2 billion in state incentives is 3 times the entire budget of the Michigan State Police. Holy crap! That's our government picking winners. And thus, picking losers. And if you're not in the green industry, if you're not going with Industry 4.0 and, datafying the entire system, you're not going to get money. So it's the carrot, right? The stick comes later, but right now is the carrot. Okay, this is just to show what, if I can see a top down, this is what it's going to look like. So this is the EV battery plant in Kentucky. Oh, man. Is that the only aerial? Yes. So there you have it. It's awful. This is what's going to happen to all these megasites if we allow it. Now, Marshall, the ground, it already has started to look like this, which is very sad, but it ain't over till it's over. In America's Voltage Valley, hopes of car-making revival turn sour. EV manufacturer Lordstown Motors lauded by Trump in 2020, has gone bankrupt. What now for the once proud automaking region? Now, I would like to get a picture of this because this is complete. This manufacturing plant. But yeah, they've gone bankrupt. So now, what's to say we don't bring in these megasites and uh, they go bankrupt, and now what was once good farmland is nothing. It's just a huge empty building, like the malls, all these empty malls around. That's what we're gonna have, but even obviously 3, 4, 5 times bigger facilities just sitting there where once we could have had life, plant life, animal life, human life. Now we have EV battery chemical plants. All right. Rocky Mountain, why Michigan's new energy regulator hails from think tank behind discredited gas stove study. I'm going to have to get into this one more because the gas stove, I have a story about that. They are definitely coming for gas stoves. Once again, you can't put a meter on the gas stove. Having it electric makes it a part of the smart grid. So the building codes, the updated building codes, they are all electric, no gas. So that is how they are phasing out gas. And they're trying to make us believe that gas is dangerous for us. My cousin even said something about, gas is bad for you. Like, that is a propaganda study that wants you to get rid of your gas stove and get an electric one. So don't believe it. Governor Whitmer's Lansing resident gets new driveway with EV chargers. 2 million? No, 1 million. Governor Gretchen Whitmer's Lansing residence is undergoing a driveway replacement project that will cost close to $1 million, according to state records. The project includes the installation of 2 electric vehicle chargers as part of Whitmer's commitment to leading by example. So we, the taxpayer, just paid $1 million for her to pretend that she'll be in a lithium battery bomb car. Because these cars just start on fire randomly. You think she's actually going to have one in her garage? I mean, if she did, if it started on fire, we'd pay for it. So I guess she doesn't lose anything, does she? A new EV battery plant fuels labor tensions as a strike looms because working at an EV battery plant is shit. So strikes are incoming. And last but not least, take action. This page will be linked down below, but it will show all of the senators that you can contact and the different EPA office, the Environmental Great Lakes office. Excellent resource. Once again, thank you, EDRA. There's letter templates. So if you want to download these and just customize them a bit, just to give you an idea of what you might say to your representatives in order to at least pause and consider what they're doing. And then down here, events. So August 1st, we have Green Charter Township monthly board meeting. The 2nd, we have the Megasite midweek protest. EDRA of Michigan has a public board meeting on Wednesday, August 2nd from 7 to 9. And then No Gotion Freedom Rally. So as you can see, tons of different things, and it's all in this central hub. So once again, thank you, Marjorie and EDRA. And last but not least, just a reminder that the World Economic Forum is 100% behind public-private partnerships. I mean, it is fascism. So this is why our government, Whitmer, went to Davos, went and hung out with the World Economic Forum. She is working with them, and she doesn't care about what we say. Yet, we will get the people to make them care. I have full faith. Hey, Pilot. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm actually going to have to wrap up. My dog, unfortunately, is a senior dog. She's 14, and she's been sick the last couple days. I don't know what's going on with her, so I have to take her to the vet. So send positive vibes my way, please. I hope it's nothing too serious. But again, she's 14, so she's senior. And yeah, I will be back tomorrow. Again, it's all about Industry 4.0, exactly what it is and why it matters to you. So come hang out with me tomorrow, 10 a.m. Thank you guys so much. Keep fighting the good fight. Don't get apathetic. And we will win. Have faith. Love you guys.